Hello. This shelf is the oversized section, so it's the big, generous, hefty, glossy books. Mostly to do with art, as you would imagine, also to do with craft, making, interiors, and rather a lot of pictures on show. Those are Sonia Daloni. It's in French. I did French at school. I thought I would be able to read it rather optimistically. I can read some of it, and I absolutely love her work. And there are pictures in this that I would not be without. I particularly love the way she did painting down the side of a poem, which is known as the Trans-Siberian Railway. There were only so many of this made because they were hand done. There was Robert Sondrier, I think it was, who wrote Blaise Saunders, who wrote the poem, and then she painted abstract down the side of the page. There's one locally in Edinburgh, so you might have one near you. But I love the way she did painting, but she also moved into doing designs for fabric, and then she was involved in a large exposition and painted a ginormous series of panels for the wall, which were featuring aircraft. Her husband Robert Delaunay was also a painter, and she kept deferring to him and loved his work, and promoted it as much as she could, but she was a complete star in her own right. I love her. So widespread the way she worked in lots of different fields. And her dates I should really look up and tell you, because it's not going to mean much to you. 1885 to 1979. It's a pretty interesting time frame. Next, this is a magazine, just one issue, CIVA, Scene, the Journal of the Christians in Visual Arts. Really love this, given to me by a friend who is a professional photographer. And the piece I love is that there's a book recommendation in it, a book review. We like book reviews. And it's a title called A Profound Weakness, Christians and Kitsch by Betty Sparkman. And I think this is so timely, because I think a lot of Christian art is unfortunately twee. And she calls it what it is, so I love that. Even though I have not bought the book, I have seen her speak on it on YouTube. Now, here is a book that I think is phenomenal. Women Artists. This is the third edition, really well illustrated, and it's like a guide if you're wondering, how do I begin to get an understanding of women through the ages. The different chapters are the Renaissance, the 17th century, the 18th century, the 19th, early 20th, mid-century to the mid-1980s, new currents, and nearly 300 pages, wide, generous pages as well, let it be said. Very glossy and extremely well illustrated, and by Nancy G. Heller. Just fabulous. Okay. Come Alive. The Spirited Art of Sister Karita by Julie Ault. I absolutely love the work of Karita Kent, Sister Karita as she was called, because of its graphic, its colour, its energy, and the wide range of verbal resources she pulled from. She apparently didn't sleep very well. She was a bit of an insomniac, and she got her students to read widely. She read widely herself, which is a great use to make if you can't sleep at night, let's face it. And then that was poured into her art, and of course she was making art at a time when America was going through the whole civil rights movement, and she was pulling in quotes from all over the place and making that part of her support for what was going on. Her pictures are bold and positive. Let's see, there's one there I just saw. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. The colours are bright and simple. She took part in the whole idea of pop art, although she wore this serious nun habit because she was a nun from being quite young, and then she taught art, and then she moved on to becoming an artist separately. She chose to leave the order that she was in, but she was also involved a lot with Charles and Ray Eanes. She would have them come through and speak to her students, and like them she would have an atmosphere where there would be films running, different films, silent films that were about graphics or different things running in the classroom at the same time, and students could pick up on whatever influences they wanted. She was also admired by Buckminster Fuller, Saul Bass, the great graphic designer. But it's one of the few books in my whole library I put my name on it because I don't want to lose it. I don't want to be without it. Now this is a book of a huge catalogue from Russia, and it was full title: From Russia, French and Russian Master Paintings 1870 to 1925 from Moscow and St. Petersburg. Now it's an exhibition I went to see. It was on in, when was it? It was the Royal Academy of Arts in London. I went to see it with a friend as a treat for her, but also a treat for me. It was on in April 2008. We went to see it. I went to see it because there were lots of paintings coming over from the Hermitage Museum, and I felt that that was the least I could do, would be to go and meet them halfway in St. Petersburg, because the chances of me ever going to St. Petersburg were pretty slim, and most of those pictures were Matisse, and he's one of my favourite artists. So, but it also gave me a chance to see some of the Soviet painters as well, and in particular I do like some of the women painters around the 1920s, and it was a delight to see their work. I mean, this is the whole point. There's a particular artist I love, Natalia Goncharova. It's a delight to see pictures from Russia, from another time and place that otherwise we wouldn't see. And one of the most amazing things was the Matisse painting, where most of the background and the colour in the picture is, it's a huge painting. It was red, and this is the point of going to see exhibitions, is that you get to see the size of the pictures, you get to walk up close to them, you get to walk up and let them fill your field of vision and be in the painting. Whereas in a book, of course, they're always going to look quite small. That was a tremendous exhibition. I'm so glad I went to see it. And this hefty, well written, well researched catalogue turns up in that largest charity bookshop, second-hand bookshop fair that I mentioned in Edinburgh. So, from the sublime to the comic ridiculous, a little book on learn how to draw cartoons. Always a source of interest. Now, a painter, Howard Hodgkin, and this is written by my favourite commentator on modern art, which is Andrew Graham-Dixon. And as you can see, Howard Hodgkin painted. He resented being called an abstract painter because he would say he always started with painting from real experience, real memories, figuratively, and then it moved from that. He did not give many interviews in his lifetime, so it's very special to have this book. And I also went and saw a very large selection of his paintings on show in Dublin, and that was quite an amazing, overwhelming experience. The only thing being that he had the walls painted in different colours to his specifications, and one of them I thought was absolutely horrible and did nothing for the paintings. So some of the walls were gold, which was fabulous, and then there was a really plasticky blue-green one, which I didn't think worked well with his paintings, but then I shouldn't really have that point of view because he has such a sense of colour in his pictures. So I'm not the expert in this, but I just didn't feel he did it any favours. It was kind of a toothpastey, minty toothpastey colour in the walls, and they dominated the pictures to me. But apparently he worked together with the curator and this is what he felt was the best. So, his choice. Now I'm going to look at an artist that I particularly like, a Scottish artist, not madly known, Anne Redpath. I love her because mostly of these kind of pictures where she's doing an interior. This is a low table with a little china set and so forth on it. I love, she also did then later in life landscapes in Europe, but I absolutely love her interiors and the colour, the freshness. One of the people who collects her paintings is Michael Palin, which I find very endearing, and he did a TV series about the Scottish colourists who were all around the same kind of time. They would be mostly guys, but she was around the same time and just fabulous. So she was not so very well known, but has become very collectible now, and there's something about her interiors and the colours that I can't get past. A lot of her pictures are very heavy and pastel with oil, and her accountant allegedly said to her she should make more money if she painted with less oil, which is why he was an accountant and she was the artist rather than the other way around. No excuses needed to have this book, Tintin. This is the very first Tintin book, in which he's visiting the land of the Soviets. So the style is much simpler, and he's finding his feet, he's finding his way. And you can see it in the drawings. I'll let you have a quick flick through. And they're also in black and white and not colour. But it's still Tintin and snowy. Finally, stained glass. An illustrated history by Sarah Brown. And of course, being stained glass, the whole art form goes back a long, long way. And then right up to the present, where you get more abstract pieces of work, including, has to be said, a couple of my favourites, which would be Matisse, the Chapel of Mons, of course, and the page before is a certain Monsieur Chagall. And if you want to see a lovely Chagall window on film, the film Ferris Bueller's Day Off has a tender scene where they are in the Chicago Museum of Modern Art and Ferris Bueller kisses his girlfriend in front of a Chagall window. That whole sequence in the art gallery is just superb, and there's beautiful music as well. So, stained glass, stained windows, colour. I hope in a way this review is a little bit like that for you. You're looking through a screen, you're seeing lots of colours, and I hope you've enjoyed the patterns and of words and pictures.